Welcome to Nazir Fears, where fear finds you. Do you dare to enter a world of unspeakable horror and chilling mysteries? If you love creepy true stories, urban legends, haunted places, and terrifying experiences, you're in the right place. What we offer: spine-chilling horror stories, dark and mysterious urban legends, real-life encounters with the supernatural, psychological horror and unexplained mysteries, new nightmares. Every daily upload a new video only for you. Subscribe if you dare. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You never know what's lurking in the dark. Henry Lawson had been the night janitor at the old Whitmore High School for over a decade, a man whose quiet diligence and solitary presence had earned him familiarity but not attention. Yet the building had secrets older than any living memory, corridors that seemed to remember footsteps not taken, lockers whispering in the darkness, and rooms whose shadows did not align with the angle of the dim fluorescent lights. On a particularly stormy night, Henry began his rounds as usual, mopping hallways and locking doors, unaware that this night would shift him from observer to participant in a terror beyond comprehension. Claire Bennett, a young teacher staying late to grade papers, and Officer Cole, investigating the recent mysterious disappearance of a student, were soon drawn into the labyrinthine horror that had silently haunted the school for decades. The moment Henry entered the basement to check the old maintenance rooms, a subtle change occurred in the air. The fluorescent lights flickered violently, and shadows pooled unnaturally in the corners. He felt a presence, something patient and ancient, observing his every move. Henry's flashlight illuminated tools scattered across the floor, but the shadows seemed to cling to the walls, elongating and twisting in ways that defied geometry. The whispering began subtly at first, faint echoes that seemed to originate from the very walls, repeating words Henry could not remember saying, phrases from his own mind. By the time Claire and Officer Cole arrived after hearing strange noises from the lower levels, the building had shifted, hallways elongating, doors vanishing, and shadows gathering with sentient patience. Claire immediately sensed the psychological pull of the place. Every step forward felt simultaneously like progress and entrapment. Lockers whispered, shadows slithered along the floors, and the very walls seemed to breathe in response to their presence. Henry, normally composed, began to panic, aware that the basement was no longer just a room, but a sentient entity, feeding on attention, fear, and recognition. Officer Cole tried to maintain a practical approach, but even his trained senses were assaulted by the shifting architecture, the low hum that resonated directly in the skull, and faceless forms glimpsed at the edge of vision. The entity did not strike physically. It manipulated perception, bending time and space, and preyed on the mind. As they ventured deeper, Henry remembered the previous janitor who vanished, a man who had also ignored the whispers and shadows until the building had consumed him. Shadows pooled into humanoid shapes, faceless but unmistakably aware, their faint, glowing eyes tracking every movement. Claire's recorder captured the low-frequency hums and whispers, distorted to the point that even she could not discern whether the sounds came from the walls or within their own minds. Every reflection in a cracked window or tarnished mirror showed twisted versions of themselves, faceless or doubled, eyes glowing faintly, reinforcing the feeling that the building itself was alive, observing and patient. Time began to lose meaning as they moved through corridors that bent impossibly. Hallways looped, staircases descended into darkness that returned them to the same point, and doors led to rooms they had never seen before. Henry felt his identity fracturing, memories of past events being twisted, reshaped, and mirrored back at him in unnatural ways. Shadows formed tendrils that pressed against his perception, probing, observing, feeding. Claire whispered that the entity only required acknowledgement, that it was patient, and that fear itself strengthened it. Officer Cole realized that any attempt to escape or resist only deepened the entity's hold, for the building had no interest in violence. It sought consumption of thought and presence. Faceless entities began to coalesce more boldly, stretching toward the trio in shadowy forms, unbroken by walls or light. The basement became a labyrinth with endless rooms, corridors, and staircases, each reflecting fears, insecurities, and memories back at them. Puddles of water mirrored the glowing eyes of countless faceless entities, multiplying with every glance. Every attempt to retreat brought them deeper into the building, as though the school had folded upon itself, bending perception and time. Henry realized the malevolent force did not just observe. It adapted, learned, and thrived on psychological terror. Hours, or perhaps days, passed indistinguishably. Every flicker of light became a test, every shadow a potential threat. The whispers intensified, repeating fragments of thoughts, secrets, and fears, echoing in ways that defied comprehension. Henry, Claire, and Officer Cole began seeing the spectral forms of past victims, faceless and silent, layered upon the moving shadows. The entity's power was absolute in the basement, the epicenter of its awareness. It pressed on consciousness, bending memory and thought, ensuring that the intruders were absorbed into its perpetual awareness. By the end, Henry understood the terrifying truth. The janitor who vanished had not been killed, not in a traditional sense. He had been absorbed into the entity's consciousness, his identity layered atop the shadows, faceless yet observing. Claire and Officer Cole were already beginning to fray at the edges of reality, their attention feeding the entity as it patiently awaited the next intruders. Every reflection, every whisper, every tendril of shadow ensured that the school remained alive, patient, and eternal. Escape was an illusion, fear was sustenance, and acknowledgement bound the observer to the basement's domain indefinitely. The night ended not with a scream, but a silent integration. Henry's consciousness, Claire's fleeting thoughts, and Officer Cole's fading awareness became threads woven into the entity, faceless and eternal. The school remained quiet by day, but as the lights flickered at night, the shadows remembered. They remembered every footstep, every glance, every heartbeat, waiting for the next to vanish.